Greetings, salutations, respect, and love. I am Scott, and I'm just a tad bit under the weather here, but that's okay. We're going to be talking about the great Steve Hackett and his 29th solo album. How is that even possible, man? How does this cat have that many records out? Well, he does, and as the title and thumbnail indicated, I posit, is this his best album? Well, it's a really good one, so you're just gonna have to wait and see where I place it in his discography. I did rank all the Steve Hackett albums a couple of months ago. I'm gonna put that at the end of the video on the end screen, so you can click on that and try to figure out where this album might fit in his discography. But we'll get back to that. The new album is called The Circus And The Nightwhale, and apparently it's his first concept album since he left Genesis. I guess the only other concept album he did was his first one, The Voyage of the Acolyte, which was a concept album about the tarot cards. This time it's a more convoluted kind of story, maybe a little bit like A Pilgrim's Progress, but I don't know. Dude gets caught up in a whale or something like that, so maybe there's some biblical connections there too, Jonah and the whale and stuff like that, but there are 13 songs on here, running time 45 minutes, and I gotta say, although I have loved all of Steve's output, but kind of since Wolf Life, they've all looked the same. They have the same font on all of them. Musically, they sound similar. So this is a change of direction for Steve Hackett. Absolutely. The artwork's different. The music's different. This is not just another Steve Hackett solo album. This is one where he means business, and he's obviously very serious about making this one. It's a real statement piece. It really is. And it starts with his decision to use all of his backing band, which he's been doing the last couple albums, but this one he's like really leaning into it with Nad Sylvan, Amanda Lehman showing up on vocals, Roger King, of course, on keyboards, along with Benedict Fenner, Rob Townsend supplying some sax, John Hackett on flute on one track, and you've got the great Jonas Rheingold playing bass on every song here. It's About Time. You've got Malik Mansurov, the great Azerbaijani tar player. And you've got a trio of drummers here. Craig Blundell, who is his touring guy. He was subbed by Nick DiVirgilio for a few dates. So yeah, Nick sits down on the drum kit on a song or two here. And the return of Hugo Degenhardt from the old Steve Hackett band. So he's got all the same types of people that he has on other records, but this one here is just a little bit special. It's a little bit different, and I'm really excited to talk to you guys about it today. It starts out with the first single, People of the Smoke. It's a weird song. Apparently, the Hackett family grew up near that Battersea power station that was on the cover of Pink Floyd Animals. So the idea here is that we're in 1950s London, and people are just inhaling all that smoke from that factory. If you think about post-war London, so much great stuff came from all the sadness and the depression and the post-war malaise that was going on. Young men not really knowing what to do with their lives, so they pick up a guitar and they start a rock band. Of course they do. The strings on here, courtesy Roger King, really, really good. Steve's guitar playing amazing. A cool way to start the song. And then we get into a little a piece called The Passing Clouds. It's only like 94 seconds long. And again, Roger King's orchestration is gorgeous here. And Steve plays a really cool melody on his guitar in E minor. Kind of a neoclassical piece, but it's a real cool break between the opening track and the third track, Taking You Down, which is where we hear the great Nad Sylvan. I sure wish we had a little more Nad on here. This is the only song on the album he gets to sing lead, and it's a rocker in B minor. I guess it's kind of an autobiographical tune about a cat that Steve knew growing up, who was a 9-year-old bully and a card shark. And then you get a great Rob Townsend sax solo on here. And then Steve, of course, solos like crazy. It's a cool song. At first, I didn't really know if I liked it because it's kind of basic, but it's really awesome. Next up is another little floating incidental piece called Found and Lost. It starts out, you think it's going to be an instrumental because it's Steve on a nylon string guitar with some strings in the background or an F sharp minor. And then Steve plays that same melody from the passing cloud here again. And then it just transitions into like a minute of like a smoky blues kind of thing, with transitions you right into Enter the Ring with a rainstorm intro. Then you get the 12-string guitar with piano and harpsichord, definitely making you think of early Genesis here. A real dreamy first half finally gives way to a John Hackett appearance. And yeah, if you've got a flute player, you might as well throw in like a little Jethro Tull sounding section, which of course they do. And the vocal section at the end is really cool, kind of bright and shiny, making me think of Starcastle of all things. And then it ends with like circus sounds and Roger King's orchestration. Next up is Get Me Out. Starts kind of like burlesque music in a way, I guess, but then it turns into another like lounge track, another blues, smoky blues kind of track in E minor. You're in a 6/8 swing time throughout this, and the song is absolutely saved by a patented Steve Hackett solo here, just amazing. Next up is the longest song on the album. It's called Ghost Moon and Living Love. It's just under 7 minutes, but it really does pile a lot on here. It opens with Amanda Lehman's ghostly voicings. We're in C major here, and the song starts up, and somehow we shifted over to E flat minor, and we're in 4/4, and Steve Hackett's singing a lot like Chris Isaak here. And I gotta say something about Steve Hackett's voice. For a long, long time, it was definitely the biggest hurdle for people to enjoy his music. He's come a long way. He really has. His voice sounds great here. It's a beautiful melody he's singing. And then you get past the Ghost Moon section into like the Living Love section, and we're in B major, and it's beautiful. And then you get another like early Genesis section with the 12 strings. Sounds amazing. Next up is Circo Inferno, where you get the crazy guitar playing from the mad Azerbaijani Malik Mansurov, and it sounds really cool and fast and aggressive and Middle Eastern-y. It's a Middle Eastern rocker with Rob Townsend sax squonking away in the middle of it. It's great. Next up are another couple of short songs. Breakout has this heavy hard rock riff in A with all kinds of hammer-ons and cool keyboards with Amanda singing in the background. And then it gives way to another real short piece, like a minute 46, called All at Sea. Starts with a real frenetic guitar solo and Hammond in the background, and then it just like falls apart and turns into like aquatic noises and ocean sounds and whatnot. And that's cool because it leads us to Into the Nightwhale. Starts out with like what sounds like a keyboard sounding like a foghorn, and then you settle in on a pedal point in B with ascending chords, building tension, and then that pedal point moves up to a D, and then you finally get a cadence on G major that is just powerful and fantastic. And you've arrived somewhere. I guess he's inside the belly of the whale at this point. I don't know. At the end part of the song, Steve sings Love is Real, Know That I Found You, I'll Be There, Darkness Surrounds You. And this track does kind of serve as a prelude to the penultimate track called Wherever You Are, 4 minutes and 18 seconds. It's an F sharp minor. The verses are anyway. And then the chorus comes up and it's really big and bright and it's an A. So that's a cool transition. I love that. Very big, epic sounding. Very proggy. This is probably the proggiest track on the album with some amazing drumming. I'm not sure who it is. I think it's Craig on this track, but I'm not sure. And then the album ends with a real beautiful classical guitar piece called White Dove. It's got that patented tremolo effect where, if you're a guitar player, you know what I'm talking about, where you take your annular, the media, and the indice, and you play all three of them real fast. It's just awesome, kind of like Recuerdos de Alhambra, I guess is the track by Villalobos or Rodrigo, whoever wrote that, with all that tremolo in there. It just sounds amazing. Steve is such a great classical guitar player that, every time I hear him play, I'm like, is this tremolo as good as John Williams or Andre Segovia or Carlos Bream? And then I'm thinking, Man, that's pretty rough territory. I'm comparing him to the best classical guitarist in the world. That's how good he is. Julian Bream, I don't know where Carlos came from. It's Julian Bream, one of the greatest classical guitar players in the world. And yeah, I can mention Steve Hackett in the same breath as Andre Segovia. Why not? I most certainly can. He's done albums of just classical guitar music, and it's just awesome. I love Steve Hackett, so I preface this by saying, is this his best album? Well, yeah, those first four absolutely need to be held accountable. They're just amazing. They're special. They're perfect. And I have a real soft spot for Darktown. But after those five records, I do believe this is his best album. And it's only getting better with every single spin. So how am I going to rate this thing? Well, I would have liked Jonas Reingold's bass a little higher in the mix. I will tell you that much. I got a strain to hear him sometimes. Bummer. I would like a little bit more participation from Amanda Lehman and Nad Sylvan in the vocal territory. But you know what? Those are minor complaints because Steve's vocals are actually really good here. Previous albums, there was always like one song or one line that Steve sung that was kind of cringy, and I was like, oh man, why didn't you hire somebody for? I don't get any of that here. I think his voice sounds great. His guitar playing is just ridiculous. I mean, my goodness gracious, Steve Howe's lost a step, but Steve Hackett's lost nothing at all. So how am I scoring this thing? I'm going to give this sucker a 9 out of 10. It is that good. Like I said, that shorter running time certainly helps because his last 5 or 6 albums have all been like over 55 minutes long. So this is a real nice listen in one sitting, which is what we want to do, man. It's a concept album. You can't cut it off in the middle. You got to listen to it from start to finish. And if you do, you'll have to agree with me that this is definitely one of Steve's best albums ever. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to interviewing Greg Spotton from Big Big Train later on this week. I might put something together tomorrow. Who knows what I'm going to do? As long as I'm feeling, okay, I'll still do it. But yeah, I'm not feeling great today. I've got some issues, but I don't need to bore you with those, man, because let me tell you something, they're boring as all can be. Anyway, I love you guys. You know the drill. Peace in the Middle East, free Tibet, and God save the king. Save King Chucky. Save King Charles III. That boy needs your saving right now, as do we all. I love you. Peace.